Imagine if the strongest sorcerer in history and the strongest sorcerer of today were actually born in the same era and became friends. Imagine, back in the Heian era, ancestors of the Gojo clan, descendants of Sugawara no Michizane, gave birth to a child who possessed the power of both the Six Eyes and the Limitless technique. Surprisingly, he also had both the personality and physical appearance identical to our great teacher, Gojo Satoru. Since he was born in the prime era of Jujutsu, he had no choice but to bear responsibilities he never caused. The moment he opened his eyes, the balance of the Jujutsu world changed. Curses became more aggressive, sorcerers became more paranoid, and the Gojo clan immediately treated him less like a child and more like a walking nuclear weapon with white hair. Imagine being 6 years old and already hearing things like, "Protect the clan. You are our future. You cannot lose." Bro probably could not even enjoy eating rice in peace without 10 old men watching him like he was the next stock investment. And because this was the Heian era, everything was somehow even worse. Strong sorcerers were constantly dying. Assassinations happened daily. Cursed spirits were everywhere. And at the center of all this chaos, there was one name everyone feared. Ryomen Sukuna. But unlike legends, Sukuna was not born as a monster immediately. In fact, his life was probably one of the worst in the entire era. Being born as an unwanted twin, Sukuna consumed his sibling in the womb to stave off starvation. Treated as an outcast and a monster his entire life, he was shaped by isolation and a world that refused to accept him. Which honestly sounds very possible, considering the Heian era probably treated anybody different like a side quest demon. Imagine young Sukuna growing up starving, abandoned, constantly hunted by both humans and curses. No family, no kindness, no normal life. The only thing he truly possessed was overwhelming talent. And eventually, fear created the king of curses. The more people hated him, the stronger he became. The more people tried killing him, the more he learned how to kill back. At some point, Sukuna probably stopped seeing himself as human entirely, because when the entire world treats you like a calamity, eventually, you start acting like one. Meanwhile, the Heian version of Gojo was living the exact opposite life, loved by the clan, protected by the clan, controlled by the clan, and that pressure slowly started destroying him. Everybody only cared about his strength. Nobody cared about him as a person. To the Gojo clan, he was not Satoru, he was the strongest. So one night, he escaped. No guards, no servants, no clan elders, just one overpowered teenager wandering through the deadliest era in Jujutsu history like he was on a school field trip. And that was when he sensed it. An overwhelming cursed energy somewhere deep in the mountains, and his eyes see it all. There was no evil, not calm, just lonely. Curious, Gojo followed it, and after walking through destroyed shrines, dead curses, and enough bodies to realize he probably made a terrible decision, he finally found him. A young Sukuna sitting beside a fire. The funny part is, Sukuna was probably just as shocked, because for the first time in his life, someone looked directly at him without fear. And for the first time in Gojo's life, someone looked at him without expectations. The strongest sorcerer and the future king of curses met completely by accident. And honestly, this already sounds like the beginning of the most toxic friendship in anime history. At first, they hated each other immediately. Gojo thought Sukuna was insane. Sukuna thought Gojo talked too much. Which is fair, because modern Gojo already speaks like somebody who learned social skills from internet comments. But despite everything, they kept meeting again and again. Sometimes they fought, sometimes they argued, sometimes they just sat together in silence after killing curses. And slowly, they started understanding each other. Gojo realized Sukuna was not born evil. Sukuna realized Gojo was not living freely either. One was feared by the world, the other was imprisoned by it. Then came the grinding season. Both of them started training together constantly. Imagine Sukuna teaching Gojo close combat while Gojo explains curse technique control. Imagine them competing over literally everything. Who kills curses faster? Who learns techniques faster? Who survives longer without sleep? The Heian era probably became terrified because individually, they were disasters. Together, they were unstoppable. Entire curse groups disappeared overnight. Sorcerer clans stopped fighting wars. Even curses probably started started filing complaints. And just like Gojo and Geto in the modern era, they became known as the strongest. But here's the problem with Jujutsu Kaisen. Strength never stays peaceful for long. As both of them continued growing stronger, the world itself started comparing them constantly. Who is stronger, the honored one or the fallen one? The Six Eyes user or the demon? People started choosing sides. Clans became nervous, rumors spread everywhere, and eventually, both of them started noticing it too. For the first time, they could not grow together anymore because there was no higher level left, only each other. Gojo still wanted to protect people. Sukuna no longer cared about humanity. That difference slowly created distance between them. The missions became arguments, the arguments became fights, the fights became silence, until finally, the story repeated itself once again. Just like Gojo and Geto, just like Yuji and Megumi, Jujutsu Kaisen always destroys people standing side by side. And eventually, the day arrived. The strongest sorcerer of the Gojo clan versus the future king of curses, Prime Sukuna in his original body, 4 arms, 2 faces, pure terror. Against the 6 eyes and limitless user born in the golden age of Jujutsu. Honestly, the Heian era probably thought the apocalypse had started. Their battle destroyed entire landscapes. Domains collided repeatedly. Techniques evolved mid-fight. Imagine Sukuna adapting to infinity while Gojo keeps discovering new applications of blue, red, and purple during combat itself. Neither side could fully overpower the other, because for the first time in their lives, both of them had finally met someone who truly understood loneliness. And deep down, that was the real tragedy. Not the battle, not the destruction, but the fact that if they were born in another era, they probably could have stayed friends forever. But this is Jujutsu Kaisen, and in JJK, being the strongest is almost always a curse.